Hey there friends, welcome to Pro Tools Answers, where certified Pro Tools experts and Avid instructors discuss, demonstrate and elaborate on your Pro Tools questions put to the community in the official Avid Facebook support forum. I'm your host Dave Phillips, audio engineer and lecturer based in the UK. And today we're tackling a question from one of our...
Wait. We're not going to talk about it? We're not going to talk about what's happened in Pro Tools Answers over the last few weeks. We're not doing it.
Do you want to do this now?
If we don't, the show falls over. If you haven't been watching the show, okay. So here's what's happening, and it's strange to be an American brokering piece, but here we go. 3 shows ago, there was a bit of a critique, I think, of Dave's keyboard from our fine European compatriot, Mr. Anders Motz, which was fine. I think less than kind. Fine, no problem. The next show, he doesn't even show up. So there's now a little bit of a problem, between the British compatriots and the European ones. And I would propose, as a peacemaking gesture, that this episode be brought to you by Pro Tools Anders.
I'll second that motion.
So for this one show, as reparations for Dave actually placing flames under the picture of Anders for his comment about the fine British people, we'll call it Pro Tools Anders. Let's say that the A on my jacket is now Anders.
That's fantastic. Brings the tears to my eye.
I'd also like to point out there wasn't just flames. there was some glasses and there was a moustache involved.
Yeah.
Yes.
And if you missed that episode, be sure to check it out. Dave will link it in the description below.
So, in light of the fact that we're all friends again, I'm just going to stick my window back next to Anders in the Zoom call.
So that's beautiful, man.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
That means a lot to me, Dave.
Are we good now? Are we all friends again?
Yeah, all good.
Now we can move on. I feel like we've cleansed.
Awesome. So today we're tackling a question from one of our patrons, Gregor, who asks the following question. And he posted this on our Pro Tools Answers Patreon bar. He says, "Hi to everyone." Hi, Gregor. "I thought it would be interesting to dedicate an episode to the iLok licensing system. I'm sure there are a number of things that a lot of people haven't really understood, including me. What about the details of multiple licenses that are supposedly available? Personally, for example, I only managed to activate a second available license on a different iLok for some plugins. With some of the others it wasn't possible. Or how does the resale of licenses work? What happens if iLok breaks? What is it possible to do with iLok Manager? Thanks in advance. Your friend, Greg."
All the drama.
Dramatic reading by Dave Phillips.
Before we start, I just wanted to give out a shout out to the other patrons who generously support us each month. Many thanks to Don and Mike and Matthew, along with Gregor, who give generously each month to the show. Their kind support is very much appreciated. If we're helping you to become Pro Tools experts and would like to support us to keep our work going, you too can head over to patreon.com/Pro Tools Answers, select a manageable tier, each with their own scaling benefits and gifts. This is our 41st episode, alongside all the soloed and the As an Aside Chain videos that help you understand the inner workings of Pro Tools. So there's lots and lots of content already for you to mine for Pro Tools technique, and we are nowhere near done yet, are we?
Nope.
Just getting started.
So if you can see your way to become a Pro Tools Answers patron and help us fund the channel, we'd appreciate it very much. And joining me as ever, my studio engineer junior assistant interns, the reassuringly expensive but cheap at twice the price. He's back, everyone. We're all friends again. Master instructor Mr. Anders Motz at Tonkraftwerk in Austria.
Hello.
And the master of master instructors, who's only purchasable by those with a black MasterCard, Mr. Andy Hageman.
How's it going?
So Gregor's question is an interesting one. There's a lot to unpack here. So it's going to take us back into the world of licensing, although in this case it's kind of managing the ones we own.
Yeah.
Right. No, this is a good one. We talked with Topi Domingo a few episodes back about how, the different kinds of licenses for Pro Tools you can buy, but we didn't really go into how Pace deals with their iLok system. So this is kind of a good bookend for the topic.
So Pace are the guys that run iLok and iLok Manager, right?
That's right. Yeah. So first thing out of the box is iLok is not owned by Avid. Has nothing to do with Avid. It is its own separate company. It is the company is called Pace, and the product they make is iLok, and that comes as either a physical dongle, physical key, or you can license. You can put your licenses in the cloud. Same licenses, right? But they can reside in two different places. Are you guys using cloud, or are you using iLoks?
I use the good old iLoks.
I've got a combination of both. So,
really?
We'll go into that as we get into it. Just wanted to start off by talking about why iLok is a thing in the first place. Because it's a thing that pops up on the threads every so often. The frustration that we can only license our stuff with iLok, and the fact that if you're using cloud, you have to be connected to the internet. That might not always be a thing. But why is iLok even a thing?
Because people steal software.
Exactly. That's exactly why we're here. And
Right.
why do you find it a good solution?
Speaking as an Avid person, as a person that works for Avid, I think it is the best solution so far. In the dim, distant past, we've done registration codes. We've done, obviously, with Pro Tools LE. If you remember back in those days, it didn't run unless you had an MBox attached to it, which was a limitation that was that wasn't a great solution either.
And that was essentially the license, wasn't it?
That was the license. Yeah. Basically,
Oh.
that was the dongle, if you want to think of it that way. And that was before iLok really kind of established the presence that it has today. I think in a perfect world, we take that research and development money and put it into software development. But we have to do something. Every company has to do something, and different companies do different things. I think for Avid, Pace is what we're going to have for a while yet. But technology's getting better. We'll wait to see if there's some sort of unhackable licensing option.
Yes.
Yeah, but I mean, even if you didn't use that for Pro Tools, there are a lot of plugin companies that use iLok. And even if you're using Logic, for instance, or some other platform, and you're using plugins from a particular brand that uses iLok as their licensing system, you're still be stuck with the iLoks, right?
Yeah, completely.
Yeah, completely. Yeah, and a lot of the folks, a lot of manufacturers that operate in kind of the audio ecosphere, knowing that Pro Tools is on iLok, put their products on iLok as well, including Dave's and my Slate VSX headphones,
VSX buddies,
which I just picked. Which I just picked up, which are fantastic. But again, the license just pops onto iLok, and it's just one dongle that you need to deal with. So I think it is what it is. It's nobody's preference, but I think it's the best we have if we need to have some sort of.
Dave, can you ask me the same question that you asked Andy?
I was about to. Yeah. So how does it work for you as an engineer?
I absolutely love the iLok system. I think it's great because when I'm going to different studios, I can bring my iLok, and I have a small SSD, and I'll just bring the installers for my plugins, and I plug in the iLok, and I'll use two iLoks maybe. Maybe there are other plugins installed on that computer, so I'll just insert my iLok as well, which gets me those licenses that I have. And then I don't have to think about uninstalling stuff or unauthorizing that computer. I'll just pull out the iLok and go back home, and I don't have to worry about it. And if I doing that in like 10 different studios, I can always bring my own iLok, and I don't have to worry about authorizing and deauthorizing and stuff, because that would be a real mess if I couldn't do that with a physical iLok.
And
So I absolutely love it.
Yeah, I'm with Anders. I mean, and a lot of us forget that there's a micro industry out there of engineers that get bought in specifically to drive the program. So we're bringing our own stuff in anywhere that we need to go to. And as you rightly said, we don't need to go through that mess of having to download stuff, having to authorize stuff, deauthorize stuff. You just plug your thing in and you go.
And don't forget the live industry, like people doing live shows, and they might have a different console every night, and they'll just bring their installers for the plugins and their own physical iLok and just plug it into the console. And
we're talking venue, aren't we?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it for digital rights management for protection, it's great. I would love to live in a world where it wasn't necessary to do anything like that, but we
totally,
do, and this is the best that we've got. I'll be honest with you, I've never even I haven't been compelled to go with the cloud-based licensing. It is. It is, on one sense, it seems like it should be far more portable because you don't have any hardware or anything like that. If you forget it, no problem. You just go online. But as Dave mentioned, you have to be connected, and if you're not connected to the internet, then you lose your licenses. And that's not dice I'm prepared to roll.
No, it was problematic. I've been running Pro Tools this weekend as an effects rack for my live mixer, and I was using my new Mac, and I've got Thunderbolt 4 ports on it. I only bought one Thunderbolt converter for my USB, so I couldn't plug in my iLok and the console to run the thing. I had to run Pro Tools from the cloud, which I do anyway. So we needed a good stable internet system to make sure that my effects don't just turn off halfway through the first set. But that's all that's required is just a good quality internet. And I think it's fair to say that the majority of us have a mobile phone or a cell phone, Andy, with hotspot, so it's easy enough to connect pretty much anywhere you go these days.
Depending on where you're going, right? Sometimes I love going out to a quiet place to sit and work, like you might not have internet coverage everywhere.
No, but
and remember, a lot of post-production studios specifically don't have unrestricted internet access for security reasons.
But dongles...
But you can go either way.
Dongles are not even a new thing. I remember dongles being a thing when I was using BBC and Archimedes computers, Acorn computers, way back in the day, just to use a word processor, this big, chunky, sort of 25-pin D-sub thing.
Yeah, you're right.
It's certainly not a new thing. I think it's also difficult to remember for some that I think the majority audience for Pro Tools for plugin companies isn't always professional engineers. It's regular people, isn't it? They couldn't sustain a business if they were just selling to pros. And it's the same with music shops. I think the majority of their customers are hobbyists, semi-pros, just people having fun with the instruments. I haven't bought. I've been a professional for 20 years. I think I might have bought one guitar from a shop. We're not the customers.
But on the other hand, those that kind of musicianship and also working in the studio is equally important in my book. It's the same mentality. The one has chosen to make it as a living, and the other one has chosen not to, right? So but my point is from the perspective of the developers. They need to have that recurring recurring revenue, and it's not going to it's unlikely to come from pros. That's my point. Is once we bought our stuff, we kind of run with it. They're wanting new people to be coming into it every week, buying new stuff. I understand what you mean. Okay,
that's what I mean.
Get it. Gotcha.
And in order, as Andy said rightly at the beginning, it prevents software theft. It's the thing that helps to prevent software theft. And if software theft was a large-scale thing, which it has been in the past, the companies that are making the awesome plugins that we love using, they wouldn't be able to continue anymore.
Oh, the industry is littered with the dead bodies of brilliant programmers who didn't protect their products.
So with all that put to bed, iLok Manager.
Yep.
Right.
Let's go. Let's delve into iLok Manager. So
the first question the guy asked was some licenses I can put on, what did he say, two iLoks or and some that you can't. Is that what he said?
Yeah, if you get multiple license for a plugin.
Right.
So how does that work? How can you put them on two different licenses, and why can you do that on some and why can't you on some?
Would anybody like to show off their iLok Manager?
No, I can show it off. Let's see here. So I'll share my screen. So first of all, you guys are seeing it, right?
Yeah.
One of the things that Dave, you mentioned that you've got a new Mac. iLok just came out fairly recently. Not just came out, but iLok does now have the USB-C version of the iLok.
Yeah, it does.
And this actually speaks to the role of an iLok key and the iLok manager. Okay, so let's say for example that I wanted to change, or Dave, let's say that you want to change. You got a new laptop, it's got new connections. You want to spend a little bit of money and get this new iLok USB-C. You can transfer the licenses from one key to another through your iLok account manager. So if you go over here, this is the iLok license manager. And what will happen, and I'll log out here so you can see what's going on. So right now what it will tell me is the different iLoks that I have connected. Some things that Pace will allow you to activate to your computer. Pro Tools First is the only Avid product that we do allow that. So you do not need an iLok key or an iLok license in the cloud in order to run Pro Tools First. That's a computer-based license. It's the only one we have, though. I have an iLok here, and it is populated with a whole bunch of good goodies. Not all of my licenses are on this key. I have other keys in the drawer over here that have other licenses, and I can manage them through this iLok license manager. So let's say this person buys a product for which he gets two licenses. Now what happens is he signs into his account. So I'm going to click sign in, and then it's going to ask me for my user ID, which is my iLok account name, not my email address. This is a big difference. So
that foxes a lot of people, and there's a lot of a lot of commentary about licenses not arriving in people's iLok accounts when they buy their software. And from what I see, and I think when we talk to Tope, he says the same, that they're typing in the email address associated with their iLok account.
Completely happens all the time. So when you go into Pace, you'll create an account, and your account name is one of the most important things. It's probably the most important thing that iLok cares about is this name. And I gave this a lot of thought. I wanted something that nobody could guess. How did I do?
Did great, Andy.
Thank you.
It's to the point.
So now you can take a look at all the licenses you have. You can take a look at all the licenses that are on different iLok, physical iLoks. You can move an iLok from one to another. So, for example, let's say I go to my iLok here, and I don't know, let's go to the Devil Lock. I go over here. I can transfer this license. And you can transfer this license. Okay.
You're doing a license transfer to someone else now, right?
Yeah,
Andy?
yeah. That's what I'm doing. Actually, let's back up.
Yeah,
you just pull it over to the other unit.
Let's just deal with one thing first. Is that the four icons on the left hand side shows you the devices that you can host the licenses on.
Yep.
So
let's do that.
Yeah.
So do you want to cut this part, or do you want?
Yeah. Let's cut that.
So, all right. Okay, so you're seeing right here, I've got a whole bunch of licenses. These are all the licenses that happen to be on my physical iLok connected to my computer. Let's say that we have 2 iLoks connected. So, Dave, let's say it's your brand new iLok with the USB-C. All you need to do is just drag that over. Yes. Which I haven't done before, so you can...
I think it would, if we were going to do that, wouldn't it be better to highlight the overarching iLok account? Because I think you're showing your iLok at the moment, aren't you? Because by the looks of it, you'd be dragging your iLok license onto your iLok.
Right. Well, I was going to drag it into the cloud.
Okay.
Where is iLok? Did I miss it? Where are you?
Should be further up.
There he is.
Yep.
All right. So let's say that I wanted to move this. I could move this to my USB-C if I bought a new one, or I could do something like here. So I could drag this into the cloud, and what it's going to do is you cannot activate to this location.
No, because you need to drag one that has the iLok cloud symbol, Andy.
Oh, geez.
So for instance, the Falcon
let's go Fresh
one.
Air.
Yeah.
Or Fresh Air.
Yeah,
the
sure.
Falcon I'm using. So actually, that's a great point. So if you take a look at the icons, the 4 icons here, you can see that the different places where you can put this. The first one is the new generation iLoks. The other one that kind of looks like a key is the old generation iLok, which not too many people have anymore. The third one is a computer-based license. For example, the Falcon can be authorized on the computer. And then cloud. So let me go to Fresh Air, which can be activated on the cloud. I'll just go ahead and drag that puppy over to the cloud. And it's going to deactivate it from my iLok key and activate it on the iLok cloud. And I don't want that, so I'm going to cancel that out.
And this is meaning that there's only one license active in one particular location.
That's right.
Isn't there?
Yeah, so you can only have it either on the cloud or on the physical key. Yeah, okay. Makes sense.
Now, if somebody buys 2, if you get 2 licenses when you get a purchase, then you can drag from here onto 2 separate things.
Yeah. So if you can head over to the right-hand side of your iLok manager, we can see the number of activations that you might have available for various licenses. So Fresh Air only has 1 available, where you've got a couple that are 2 and 3.
Yep. So I've got this one, whatever the heck it is, bass amp. Okay. So bass amp, I could activate it in 3 different places.
Yeah.
So you could pull that onto the cloud now, and that would activate the cloud as well, right?
If it supports cloud, which it doesn't.
Okay. Yeah.
But yeah, your logic's right. But I could drag it onto different iLok keys.
Yeah. And 3 different iLok keys, all associated with your account, but they can be 3 separate iLok keys.
That's right. So and here's long way around, but here's the distinction between the places where your licenses reside and the account that other people will deposit licenses into. When you purchase a product and it has an iLok license, that iLok license is deposited not onto your iLok key, but into your iLok account on your computer. And then it's up to you to manage through the iLok license manager where that iLok license is going to reside, on the cloud, on a key, wherever.
Yeah.
But Andy, I have a question for you there. Do you need to have the iLok license manager on your computer when you're using Pro Tools?
Fantastic question. No, you don't. You
don't.
only. In fact, you guys are both Avid certified instructors that are teaching at Avid Learning Partners. And when I was teaching over at Full Sail 4,000 years ago, we would manage our licenses from our desks in the office, which wasn't even connected to Pro Tools. It just had an internet connection, and we had iLok license, and we would just plug in iLoks and just dump licenses on there, and then throw those keys into the studios, and you're done. And so those keys are, once the iLok's on, once the license is on the iLok key, you plug the key into a computer, and Bob's your uncle. That's all that's needed for Pro Tools and the licenses to run. So completely not. You don't need iLok License Manager on all the computers. You don't even need it on the computer you're running Pro Tools on. It is a completely separate entity.
The clue the clue is that iLok if you're launching Pro Tools and all of your stuff loads and iLok Manager's closed.
Right.
There's a clue.
Yeah, and it's also in the name of the program itself. It's the iLok License Manager. You only need it to manage your licenses.
Yeah. And the general rule is, as long as Pro Tools can see the license location or the license wherever the licenses live when it's booting up, it will pull in those licenses. It will load those licenses. So if it sees an iLok key, it will load whatever's on the computer from the iLok key. If there's a license on the computer, it will load that license. If it can see the cloud, it will load the cloud.
Yeah, you said iLok key, and I mentioned it earlier. You can have multiple iLoks connected to one computer, and they don't even need to be on the same iLok account. So if you come to my studio and you have the license for your Slate headphones and you want to use that software on my computer, you can just plug it in and use the rest of my plug-in licenses as well. So that's fine.
It doesn't care it doesn't care what account it came from. It just wants to see a license attached to the system.
Yep.
And by the way, if you have a multi-seat facility, so for example, we've got a couple of our patrons that have multiple Pro Tools rigs in their studios. We talked about synchronizing them a couple episodes ago. I can almost guarantee that they only have one iLok account, and they download their multiple Pro Tools licenses into a window that looks just like this, and then they'll drag the individual iLok licenses for Pro Tools onto separate keys and then plug those keys in.
Is there any point in owning multiple iLok accounts? Because I can't think of any.
I haven't needed to.
I have two, so it's one for me
Well, of course
personally
you do.
and one for my company, and so.
Okay.
But other than that, no, there is no benefit of having double accounts or something.
Okay. So Andy, you asked me earlier on, do we use cloud? And I do. So can I wrestle the screen from you, and I'll show you guys something. So I work between two MacBooks. Well, I do now. I have been for the year since I bought the original M1, because I was using my i7 for all of my production stuff, and I was only using the M1 for filming this, and obviously we're demonstrating Pro Tools. And rather than always having the iLok key available and having to plug it into the M1 just to launch Pro Tools, I just had it hosted on the cloud. Makes it really easy to switch between two laptops. And I do the same thing now. I've got my new M1 Pro, the old i7, and I still switch between the two of them. Now, what will happen is, if I opened up Pro Tools on my i7 earlier on. Let me just get you guys out of the way. I'm just going to open Pro Tools up here. Now, it's going to be...
Andy's face just about.
What?
Actually, hold on.
I'm settling in. I can't wait to watch. It's going to be better than cats. What?
Thank you for sharing your screen, Dave.
Sons of bitches.
I thought, no, he actually asked for permission to share his screen, and I was like, oh, he's learned.
Oh my gosh! It makes you're making the whole peacemaker thing that much harder.
Oh, sorry, Dave.
Yeah, you're undoing all of
really
Andy's
sorry.
good hard work.
You're undoing
Just
all
telling
my
you.
diplomas.
Yeah.
I'm really sorry, Dave. Please
See,
forgive me.
that's how fragile inter-country relationships are.
Well, especially between Britain and Europe. I mean, it's a little
exactly.
It's a little tender right
you're
now.
right.
Exactly.
That was uncalled for. I'm really sorry, Dave.
We'll go back into arbitration later. But let me talk about this. So I've had my iLok, my Pro Tools open on my original MacBook, and the license was seen by Pro Tools on that computer. Trying to open Pro Tools on this computer means that I then almost kind of have to remind Pro Tools that I do own a license, and this can be confusing for people. So clicking Pro Tools brings up the license has expired thing, and you can instantly kind of think, oh, well, that's a little bit worrying, right? But all that it's saying is that, are you sure you actually own a license for this thing? So I'm going to click continue, and I'm going to be refreshing my licenses. I'm going to click on activate. Again, it makes it feel like I need to go and buy Pro Tools again, but that really isn't the case. Pro Tools just wants me to sign into my iLok account, and there you go, there's my user ID. It's a little bit less descriptive than Andy's. And I'll click next. Pro Tools can see that I have a Pro Tools HD, Pro Tools Ultimate license in my iLok account, because it's Pro Tools has just connected to the iLok server. And it should be booting up Pro Tools.
There you go.
So it can be a confusing thing. I completely understand why people kind of have a brown trousers moment when they've spent all of this money on this license to run the thing. Maybe you're running between two computers and you see that pop up.
Yeah.
Completely. I also had a bit of a clench just recently because as I mentioned, I just bought the Slate VSX, which so far I'm enamored with. It's fantastic. First couple days with it,
it's incredible.
But it's really cool. Now, sometimes when you buy licenses, it will just drop it into whatever account you put in, right? So sometimes you just type in your iLok account, and it will just dump that license. It doesn't need anything else other than your account name. However, and I just ran into this, just happened to the other day. Sometimes it will, before dropping that license, it will ping the email address with which your iLok account is associated, so that you can verify that yes, indeed, you did make this purchase. Now, when I started my iLok account way back, I was a DigiDesign employee, not an Avid employee, with a DigiDesign email address, which now is many years gone, hasn't been used, and I can't check it. So I go ahead and verify it. It says sending email to Andy Hagerman at digidesign.com, and I'm thinking, oh, here's another call to Pace's tech support. It's the last thing I need. But if you go into your iLok account, and I'll share my screen one more time. If you run into this, and I'm guessing some folks might, if you go into iLok and you sign into your account, then what you can do, you'll see here that I've updated this. That here's my name, here's my email address. It does say Avid now, but it didn't a couple days ago. And all you have to do, it's a simple. It seems like it's going to be a big problem until it's solved like that. All you have to do is click the Edit Profile. And then you go into Andy Hagerman, you change that email address, and then click OK, update, and then you're done. And
Dave,
it's good.
Sorry, Dave. You had to blur out the
I was
why
in the middle there.
I was going to ask you if you could take that verification, just buzz that out or something like that, or just put a static screen here. But yeah, I was going to mention, but you put update and you're done, and it sends a verification to your current email address, and then you click that and everything's done. I was prepared for a painful issue, and it just turned out not to be, which was a real pleasant surprise.
Awesome.
Yeah, so what is there left to cover?
So one of Gregor's other questions was, how can we transfer licenses?
Andy, you want to show that as well? I think you are an expert at that.
I don't know why, but I don't think I've ever transferred a license.
Let's see if we can find a license on Andy's iLok account that he can transfer to me.
Oh boy, but it's going to cost me, right?
It is.
It is going to cost me. So let's go over here. I'll share my screen one more time, I guess.
Because that's the thing with transferring iLok licenses. There is a fee to do so.
There's a fee.
So it's not impossible to sell licenses, and people will sell licenses between each other, but you have to realize that there is a fee to do so. So it adds, whoever's going to be paying that fee, whether it's the seller or the buyer, Somebody has to cover it.
All right. So what do you want? Let's see. I'll give you ozone.
No, I don't want that.
All right. I'll give you MH character.
No, I've got that.
I'll give you.
He's a tough guy to deal with.
Pro Tools first.
I'll give you Pro Tools first. I'll give you the Magic EQ.
Awesome.
Okay. And so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to transfer the license, and I'm going to put in Dave's account. No.
So this is.
This is my password.
You have to type in your password to just make sure that you're actually voluntarily doing this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, I was one step too.
And
quick.
now you need to enter Dave's.
This is where I need to enter Dave's
iLok account.
Yeah.
How far do we go on this, by the way, before it actually?
We're going to go right until the cancel button right here, because I'm not paying $25 to give you a license that you didn't ask for.
Oh, he asked for it.
He asked for it.
So my iLok account is D.
Well, yeah, we don't need it actually, because I'm going to click cancel. But here's where you would put in the destination, the customer's iLok account. But the important thing is the fee of $25 is charged per license or bundle. So just be careful. Just know that there is a cost associated with which you're basically selling it, and as part of that sale, Pace is taking a tiny slice of it, which I'm not going to do right now. So I'll click cancel. Which leaves us only one other thing. Zero Downtime ZDT.
ZDT. We're swapping each other's things here. Thank you for considering the British audience.
Well, it's just been so delicate. The whole international relations of the show. I just want to be,
Yeah, but not between you and me.
We're okay.
Or US/Japan and the UK. We can do ZDT. ZDT's fine.
We ZDT.
My friend Alistair has just spat coffee all over his Mac because he hates Americanisms. ZDT, Zero Downtime.
Yes.
So, what's that?
Well, so let's say that you break your iLok, which is progressively harder to do with each new kind of iLok. They're pretty sturdily built.
Yep.
Or let's say you lose it, or somebody steals it, or whatever.
I left it at a gig this weekend.
Right. Did you really?
No.
Okay, thank God.
Because I'm very, very careful.
Yeah, completely. So, basically what you would have to do is you would have to contact Pace, let them know that it's been lost or stolen. They deactivate the licenses on that iLok, because they can find it, and they deactivate it. So basically, all the licenses are back unregistered in your iLok account, so that you can put them on a new key. So that takes time.
Let's bring up your iLok account then and see that in practice, because this does hark back to the fact that the overarching account holds all of the licenses, but the individual locations where these things are stored, that's where they actually live. If they're stored to Andy's iLok 3, it lives on Andy's iLok 3. If Andy's iLok 3 gets dropped down a drain, you've no longer got access to that license anymore. You can't drag it from iLok 3 back into the iLok manager. It's gone.
It's gone. So there's a fairly time-consuming process of verifying and making sure that licenses are where and what they expect to be before they'll be reinstated. That is part of their due diligence. They're this is part of their business of protecting purchases, making sure that mischief isn't going on. Now, Zero Downtime ZDT is basically circumvents that, and when you have Zero Downtime, they'll do that verification in the background, but they'll give you your licenses now.
So if you have, so you need basically another iLok that just sits empty somewhere in your studio, and when you lose or damage your main iLok, you can
Right.
just use that, transfer the licenses to that one, and start using Pro Tools and all your plugins, right?
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could purchase it on Amazon and wait a day, but the whole idea is not to wait. Zero downtime. So yes, people who do have zero downtime have an empty, unused, ready to be, in case of emergency, break glass kind of an iLok, and then they'll put that in, and they contact iLok. They said you've got ZDT, it's waiting for you. Plug in the iLok, and then you do have to redeposit them onto your iLok, but it's far better than the alternative.
Yeah, and this is all about making sure that people are not transferring licenses onto their iLoks, giving them to other people so that they can use and keep them, and then claiming that your license was lost. So can I have another one, please?
Right,
That's
right.
what it's protecting against.
Yeah. What's the cost with ZDT? Do you have any clue?
What's more important, actually, because ZDT isn't very expensive every year, because it's a yearly refresh. You buy it for 12 months.
Yeah.
What's the cost to have a license reinstated? Because that's where it gets expensive,
All
right?
right.
Yeah. So it's I just checked here. So it's $30 per year. Can that be true? I
Yeah,
thought it
it's
was
not
a little
very
bit more.
expensive. It's not very
Yeah,
expensive.
super cheap.
It's insurance, isn't it? And insurance is
Yeah.
generally cheap. They just assume that nobody's going to use it. So
Yeah. How many iLoks have I broken and lost during the years I've been using Pro Tools? 0. So
Zero. Yeah, me too.
yeah. So, but it's probably time
Yeah.
for me to upgrade to CDT. I've been fortunate to not having lost an iLok, and I take really good care of it. But I mean, I'm flying around quite a lot as well, and these things can get lost. Yeah.
I've damaged one and I've washed one, but luckily with both of them, I was able to recover the licenses actually from the
great.
units and then just ditch them.
Yeah.
It's very
Great.
easy to do. And I carry my iLok around on a lanyard with another thing connected to it. And you were saying about bringing license around with you.
Yeah.
You can have an iLok, a USB dongle with your licenses on the same thing. And it just makes it harder to lose if it's on a big chunky thing.
Yeah.
Now, the one thing about big chunky things is, and this has always been kind of one of my bugaboos about the iLok dongle, is that it is not necessarily torque resistant. So it's a key that's plugging right into your USB. If you have something heavy hanging off of it, it can put torque on that port. And it with the different kinds of USB, it's a different kind of thing. But especially with USB-C being such a small connector, my strong recommendation is if you're going to have it on a big keychain or something like that so you don't lose it, get a tiny little extension cable so that it hangs off your computer rather than something that could just torque and break it off.
Yeah, well, this is my big chunky thing. It's just the iLok and then one of the older iLoks. Just make it easier to find.
That kind of weight is not going to cause problems, but I have seen people have just tons and tons of things, and you can just see it bending, and that's a little bit worrying from a technical perspective.
Yeah. So have we found how much it would cost to reinstate licenses if we didn't have ZDT or ZDT on? And it's also ZDT per iLok, isn't it? It's not per iLok account.
Yeah.
So if you have
pro license, isn't it?
that would get expensive. I think it's per dongle. So if you've got 3 iLok dongles, it has to be per dongle. So if you're running everything from the cloud, and it's kind of disingenuous to us all really to not be able to access everything from the cloud. That would make it possibly a little bit more convenient for some people. If you're always connected to an internet, you only use your computer at home in your basement. You never move it. You never go anywhere else. It would just be nice to be able to license it from the cloud, but not everything is cloud licensable. Not everything is computer hostable. The iLok dongle is a fact if you're using and buying stuff.
But if you've lost or damaged an iLok to the point that it couldn't be used anymore, let us know in the comments below because that would really interest us to hear your stories about iLoks and your experiences with these. And even if you had CDT or not, let us know because that would be interesting to hear.
Yeah, at worst, you just have to buy the software again. Right,
which can be a significant expense for some people. I mean, I'm lucky enough to work for a company that just dump software into my iLok. But if I had this much software and I was a freelancer, you bet I'd have ZDT. Because I that's not a purchase I want to make again, and it's not a license I want to be without for any amount of time.
Yeah, totally.
So I think we have covered as much as we can do. What do we second licenses? So we've established that some plugins will allow multiple license activations. Some will only allow you to activate one. Reselling. What happens if it breaks? Transferring. What we can do with iLok Manager. Have we covered as much as we can do with iLok Manager?
I think the only area where we didn't really look is in the account itself, where your license typically land when you get a new license, it lands in your account. That would be the button up in the left-hand corner
with your iLok account name.
Exactly. And then you have to drag the license to either the cloud or to your physical iLok or your computer.
So here's the thing to look at. We have...
Do you want to show that first, Dave? So Dave's account name is up in the left-hand corner where it says DJK.
Yep.
So that's where the licenses actually land when you purchase something which has a license. So if you click on that.
Yep.
Yeah, and as long as you've typed in that name, that iLok name, into whenever you're buying a license, it'll land there. If you put the email address in, it's likely not going to go there. These guys can fix it. The customer service guys for the iLok company. Sorry, not the iLok company. The plugin developer can fix it. But
if you click on that person there, there is a list of all of your licenses, and when a license lands in here, you have to drag it to your physical iLok or to the cloud. Or to
the other way you could do it is right-clicking it, and you click activate.
Yeah.
And that will, if you go ahead and click activate on that one, it'll give you a list of the possible destinations for that license.
Yeah.
So right now it's. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, and if anyone wants to buy me and donate me plugins, that's all you need, baby.
That's all you need.
So there's a couple of things on the left-hand side to deal with. So this is all of the iLok and the iLoks and devices that are associated with my accounts. So these are all of the old iLoks that I've either broken or put through the wash. The Mac Mini, which is about to be sold. My old i7 MacBook, my current 16-inch MacBook, and my cloud. So everything that gets associated with the account can still be associated with the account. When you plug them back in again, it just activates, and you can drag licenses around in there. But these things need to be actually connected to the computer to be able to do that.
Right.
And then, but that's connected locally via the USB. We've got a network tab here. Anders, you were talking about networking iLoks earlier on.
Yeah, that's not something that I've got a lot of experience with, but I at one of my gigs that I'm doing is teaching at the university in Siegen. They have a very cool device where they actually have a lot of iLoks connected to one device, and it's just transmitted over the network, so any network computer can grab a license when it's needed. It's a really cool solution, and I guess you could administrate that over the network as well. Is that that tab? I haven't done it myself, but my guess is that's what it's for, right?
Yeah.
So for example, with Pro Tools, you can do cloud licenses, you can do dongle licenses, you can also do what we call internally multi-seat licenses, which are all those licenses are going to reside on a server, and then your connection to the server activates those licenses. So, for example, for a school, so that each computer doesn't have to have an iLok key hanging off of it. All it has to do is be connected to that network, and it just goes to the network, sees if there's licenses connected to it, and then that does the activation for you.
Great. I think that's as much as we can talk about on this subject. If you've made it this far, well done to you. If you've been enjoying what we're doing at Pro Tools Answers, you can head over to patreon.com/Pro Tools Answers if you wanted to join our Patreon program. We have some tiers over there. If you've enjoyed the video, we'd appreciate it if you give it a like. The more likes you can give it, the further the video goes, the more people that YouTube will serve up our videos to. So if you're getting something from this, even if you're just kind of enjoying a little bit of what we're doing, just hit that like button. It really helps us. If you want to subscribe to the channel, you get and hit the bell icon, you get notified every time we release a new video. We typically do them every Sunday. I think we've been able to maintain that for this year. And then any extra stuff, like Andy's top 5 aside video, delving into 2021.10. We drop that kind of thing just as and when, so you get notified. If you head over to protools.answers.com, you can subscribe over there. Andy sends you a nice email out every week, just reminding you what's going on, and you've got a couple of free things that you can send out to subscribers as well.
Yes, and we also have a new Facebook group, Pro Tools Answers.
Yep, indeed. That's going to replace the page, actually, so that we can get a little bit more interaction between everybody. You guys can post rather than just go onto the page, and pages are typically a one-way thing. So we're going to ditch the page, just go over to the group. It's just one less thing to manage, really. We don't need all of these individual places to go. Try and keep it as simple as possible. And at protoolsanswers.com, you can also get hold of some Pro Tools Answers merch. Get some of this stuff. This stuff's available to you as well. We've been talking about some other Pro Tools Answers merch that we may put out if you guys are interested. Again, anything that you can do to support our work. As I said at the head of the video, we've got about 41 videos in the library, all deep diving into Pro Tools, all talking about technique. There's insights from the three of us. It's none of it's waffle. Apart from this bit.
Nope.
It's all good stuff. There's loads of information for you guys to mine, and with any luck, it's really helping. So if you could help us in return by donating, by becoming a supporter, or buying any of our stuff, then we'd appreciate it. So all leaves me to say is thank you very much to Anders.
Thank you.
Thank you to Andy.
You bet.
My name's Dave. This is Pro Tools Answers, and we're out.